Let me tell y'all something right off the bat. Life ain't fair, and guess what? It ain't ever gonna be. But here you are sitting around throwing a pity party with no guests, crying over spilled milk when you ain't even cleaned up yesterday's mess. Now don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you the truth like your grandma used to. Except I got this Mick in a sharp suit on. Self-pity is a trap, not a solution. And the worst part about that trap is disguised to feel comfortable. When life knocks you down, when you face heartbreak, setbacks, failures, disappointments, it becomes so easy to sit in that feeling. It wraps around you like a blanket. You start thinking, why me? You replay what went wrong. You question your worth. And little by little, your energy gets drained. The more you sit in it, the deeper you sink. And the truth is, nobody really chooses to be pitiful. It creeps in. It shows up in your thoughts, your posture, your decisions. Before you even realize it, you've stopped trying, stopped hoping, stopped believing. That's what makes self-pity so dangerous. It doesn't come with flashing red lights. It comes quietly and convinces you to settle. But let's be real. Sitting in that space does not change the situation. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't rebuild the relationship. It doesn't get the job back or erase the mistake. What it does is rob you of today while you're still crying over yesterday. Tempt. You start waiting for someone to feel sorry for you, waiting for the world to apologize, waiting for a break that you haven't even stood up to go find. That's the trap. It tells you that feeling bad is productive, that your tears are currency, that your sadness is going to buy you a way out. But it never does. It just keeps you stuck in the same place, in the same mindset, playing the same story over and over again. And you know what happens when you stay in that cycle? You miss opportunities. You miss growth. You miss the moment where you could have bounced back stronger, smarter, and more focused. The world doesn't slow down just because you're hurt. Life moves on. Time keeps ticking. Doors open and close while you're sitting there with your head down. And the longer you stay in that pit, the harder it becomes to climb out. That's why so many people stay bitter, stuck, and lost. Not because they're weak, but because they never made the decision to fight through it. They confused comfort with healing. They thought feeling sorry for themselves would make it easier, but it only made them heavier. You see, everybody's got a reason to feel sorry for themselves. Everybody's been hurt. Everybody's been betrayed. Everybody's lost something, but not everybody chooses to stay there. Some people get tired of their own excuses. Some people wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm done giving this pain more power than it deserves. That's where change starts. Not with someone coming to save you, not with perfect circumstances, but with a decision to stand up while you're still broken, to walk forward while you're still unsure. And that decision only comes when you realize that self-pity is not helping you. It's holding you. The longer you entertain it, the more you start to identify with it. You begin to wear it like a badge. It becomes your excuse for why you're not trying. It becomes the reason why you push people away. It becomes the justification for your inaction, your bitterness, your failure to evolve. But deep down, you know this isn't who you really are. You weren't created to just sit in sorrow. You were made for resilience, for bounce back, for growth that happens through the storm, not outside of it. Pain is inevitable, but pity is optional. And when you confuse one for the other, you stop your progress before it even starts. You got to call it what it is. It's a mental prison dressed up as a pity party. And the worst part, nobody else is going to break you out. They can encourage you, pray for you, support you. But if you don't decide to stand up, nothing changes. You'll keep circling the same problems, telling the same stories, holding on to the same identity that was shaped by your lowest moments. That's what the trap does. It convinces you that you are your struggle. That because you failed, you are a failure. That because you were hurt, you are unlovable. Lies, all of it. But they feel real when you sit in them long enough. God gave you breath today. Use it with purpose. The fact that you woke up this morning means something. That breath in your lungs, that heartbeat in your chest, it's not a coincidence. It's a sign that your assignment on this earth isn't finished. But too often we take that breath for granted. We wake up angry, tired, discouraged, dragging ourselves through another day like we've been promised tomorrow. We let our mood, our circumstances, our fears dictate how we walk through life. But let me tell you something. There are people who didn't wake up this morning. There are people fighting just to breathe, just to live one more day. Yet here you are, blessed with life, and instead of moving with purpose, you're stuck in a fog, letting your pain or problems steal your focus. See, God doesn't give you another day just to waste it. He didn't breathe life into you for you to just exist. You were made for more than just survival. Every day you're alive, you've got a mission. It may not be flashy. It may not come with applause, but it matters. You might be the light someone else needs. You might be carrying a gift, a word, a talent that can shift someone's whole world. But you'll never know if you spend your days distracted, bitter, or caught up in things that don't even align with your purpose. When you live on purpose, you stop letting emotions control you. You stop waking up saying, I don't feel like it. You start saying, I'm breathing, so I must be needed. You start approaching your time with urgency, not in a panicked way, but in a focused, intentional way. You begin to cut off distractions, dead conversations, empty habits that serve no purpose. You start asking yourself, is this helping me grow? Is this honoring the breath I was given today? Because once you realize time is a gift, not a guarantee, you move different. You speak different. You show up different. Some of y'all are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect peace before you start living intentionally. But that's not how purpose works. Purpose starts where you are with what you've got right now. God didn't wait until you had it all figured out to wake you up. He saw something in you that's still worth developing, still worth growing, still worth pouring into. That's why you're still here, not to wander aimlessly, not to chase someone else's dream, not to bury your gift in fear or confusion, but to walk with clarity even when the path isn't fully clear. Sometimes we get caught up in comparison. We see other people doing big things and we think our life doesn't measure up. But purpose isn't about scale. It's about alignment. You don't need a stage to live on purpose. You don't need 1 million followers to walk in destiny. You just need to show up daily with a mindset that says, I'm not here by accident. There's a reason I'm still breathing, and I refuse to waste it. Because let's be real, when your time's up, it's up. You won't get to rewind. You won't get to relive this day, this moment, this season. What you do with your breath today shapes your future. Not just your career or your finances, but your legacy, your peace, your fulfillment. Purpose doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It shows up with the breath you've been given and says, let's go. That breath is proof you've still got time to forgive, to heal, to start, to rebuild, to fight again. It's not too late unless you act like it is. Every second you waste doubting yourself, you're disrespecting the very breath that was placed in you to do something meaningful. You don't have to move mountains today, but you do have to move. You've been equipped with the strength, the grace, the ideas, the resilience, but you've got to activate it. Breath without purpose is motion without meaning. You were made for more than that. You were designed to wake up and make a difference, even if it's just in how you carry yourself, how you talk, how you love people, how you lead your own life. Tough times don't define you. How you rise does. Life is going to test you again and again. There's no avoiding it. You'll go through things you never expected, things you didn't feel prepared for, things that hit you so hard you wonder if you'll ever bounce back. And in those moments, it's easy to let the pain shape your identity, to say, this is who I am now. I'm broken, I'm unlucky, I'm not enough. But that's not who you are. Comfort to attempt. That's just what you've been through. There's a difference. What happens to you doesn't get the final say. What you do with it, that's what counts. Pain is part of the process, but it is not the definition of your story. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet didn't get that way by coasting through life. They got there by facing storms, by crying behind closed doors and still showing up, by pushing forward when quitting looked easier. They rose when everything around them said stay down. That's how strength is built, in the resistance, in the trial, in the climb. And when you rise from a place of struggle, you carry a different kind of power, a quiet confidence, a deeper wisdom, a resilience that can't be taught, only earned. We live in a world that wants you to wear your pain like a name tag, that wants to label you by your past, by your failures, by your trauma attempt. But you're more than what happened to you. You're more than what they said, what they did, what you lost. You're the comeback. You're the choice to keep going. Every time you decide to stand up and stay stuck, you're rewriting the story. Every step forward, even the small ones, is proof that your future doesn't belong to your pain. It belongs to your persistence. And let's be honest, rising isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's waking up and making your bed after weeks of not caring. Sometimes it's applying for that job again after all the rejections. Tempt. Sometimes it's choosing to believe in yourself when everything in your life is telling you not to. That's still rising. That's still power. Thing attempted. Rising doesn't mean you're unaffected. It means you're choosing to move anyway. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about refusing to let everything that's not okay stop you from trying again. You see, life isn't about avoiding the low points. It's about learning how to rise from them. And the people who learn that are the ones who start to see every setback as a setup for growth. They understand that pain can either harden you or fuel you. That struggle can either break you down or build you up. It's all in how you respond. Do you shrink or do you stretch? Do you numb out or do you lean in? Tempt. The answer to those questions decides who you become. There will be times when the rise is slow, when you're climbing and it feels like no one sees your effort. Thing attempt, like you're shouting into a void. But don't mistake silence for failure. The work you do in the dark matters just as much as what's seen in the light. You're building something with every step, even when it's not obvious. Character, discipline, patience. And those are the things that define you. Not your falls, but your rise. When people look back at your story, they're not going to admire the moments you had it all together to attempt. They're going to be moved by the chapters where everything fell apart and you got back up anyway. That's what inspires. That's what changes people. That's what legacy is made of. Not perfection, but persistence. Not comfort, but courage. Not an easy road, but a determined heart. Nobody's coming to rescue. Be your own hero. That's one of the hardest truths to accept, but also one of the most freeing. For a long time, you might wait for someone to notice your struggle, to offer a hand, to fix what's broken in your life. You might think if they would just understand me, or if someone gave me a chance, or if somebody would just help, things would be different. But the longer you wait for that rescue, the more time you lose. Because the truth is, nobody owes you that. People are fighting their own battles. They can care about you, support you, even love you, but they cannot save you. That part is on you to attempt. Being your own hero doesn't mean you do everything alone. It means you stop depending on others to be the answer to your pain. You stop waiting on external permission to start healing, to start building, to start becoming. Attempt. It means you get honest with yourself about the fact that your future is in your hands, not someone else's. And that's powerful, even if it's scary, because if you can mess things up, you can also fix them. If you can fall, you can also climb. If you're strong enough to survive the hurt, you're strong enough to grow past it. But the first step is choosing to stop waiting. It's not that people don't care. It's that they can't live your life for you. They can encourage you and give you advice, maybe open a door here and there, but they cannot make you walk through it. They cannot make you show up when life knocks you down. That's your decision. That's your moment. And when you realize that no one is coming to make your dreams happen, no one is coming to hand you a new life, you stop fantasizing about escape and start working on transformation. You stop saying, why won't someone help me? And start asking, what can I do to help myself? There's a strength that comes when you decide to take full responsibility for your journey. Not blame, not shame, but responsibility. That's when you start showing up differently. You stop giving energy to people who drain you. You stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand you. You stop waiting for closure from someone who walked away and start giving yourself peace. Because when you step into that role of being your own hero, you learn to validate your own pain, your own progress, your own power. Being your own hero doesn't mean being perfect. It means being relentless. It picking yourself up when no one sees it. It means being your own motivation when everyone else is quiet. It means believing in the vision God put in your heart, even when nobody claps for you. You stop waiting for a lifeline and start becoming your own anchor. You start taking ownership of your habits, your choices, your mindset. And the more you do that, the less you need saving, because you start building strength from the inside out. Life doesn't reward victims. It rewards fighters, not the loud, showy kind, but the quiet warriors who decide day after day to keep pushing, to keep believing, to keep standing up, even with shaking legs, because they've learned that their story isn't going to be written by someone else swooping in. It's going to be written by their grit, their decisions, their refusal to quit. When you stop waiting for someone to fix your life, you start becoming the kind of person who can build a better one. You start seeing obstacles not as reasons to stop, but as challenges to overcome. You realize that every hero has scars, but they wear them with pride because those scars mean they fought back. Your pain has a purpose. Turn it into power. Pain is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people run from it, numb it, deny it, or try to forget it. But pain is not your enemy. It's a signal. It's a teacher. It's a wake-up call. It's not just there to make you suffer. It's there to sharpen you, to shape you, tempt, to stretch you into someone stronger than you were before. If you keep treating pain like punishment, you'll never see the purpose in it. You'll stay stuck in the mindset that life is unfair, that suffering is meaningless, that struggle has no value. But when you shift that mindset and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Everything begins to change. The truth is, some of the greatest lessons in life are learned through pain. When you get hurt, it reveals things. It shows you who's really there for you. It exposes weak foundations. It brings hidden insecurities to the surface. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you might have ignored. And yes, it's uncomfortable. It's heavy, but it's also honest. Pain doesn't lie to attempt. It tells you something isn't working. It tells you something has to change. And if you lean into it, not in a way that breaks you, but in a way that teaches you, you come out of it wiser, deeper, more aware of what you truly need and who you really are. There are people walking around right now with gifts they only discovered because they were broken first. There are songs that were written out of sorrow, books that were born in heartbreak, businesses that were started after a layoff, testimonies that came from rock bottom. That's the power of pain. It births something new if you let it. But too many people stop at the pain. They get bitter instead of better. They ask, why me instead of what now? They carry the wound, but never do the work to heal. And in doing so, they miss the opportunity to transform it into something greater. You weren't meant to carry pain forever. You were meant to use it, to take the ashes and build something out of them. Maybe that means helping others walk through the same fire you survived. Maybe it means turning your experience into a purpose-driven mission. Maybe it just means refusing to let what hurt you define you. Whatever it is, it starts by choosing to stop avoiding the pain and start listening to it, not to wallow in it, but to learn from it. There's a strength that comes surviving something hard that no one can take away from you. Not even the people who caused it. Not even the doubts that try to haunt you. When you realize that your pain was not the end of your story, but beginning of a new chapter, you stop being ashamed of it. You stop hiding it. You stop pretending it didn't happen. Instead, you start owning it, not because it was fair or easy, but because it made you who you are. Turning pain into power doesn't happen all at once. It's a process. It takes reflection, patience, grace, and honesty. It takes courage to feel it fully without being consumed by it. But once you begin that journey, you start realizing how much strength was hidden inside you all along. You find your voice, you find your boundaries, you find your passion, and you start walking through life with a different kind of energy, not because you've never been hurt, but because you chose to rise from it instead of being ruined by it. That's how power is born, not in perfection, but in transformation, in taking the ugliest parts of your past and turning into the most powerful parts of your future. Success starts when excuses stop. Excuses are comfortable. They make failure feel justified. They give us something to blame. They let us off the hook, but they also keep us stuck. Every time you make an excuse, you trade progress for comfort. You trade potential for delay. And the more you do it, the more normal it becomes. You start believing your own reasons. You start convincing yourself that timing isn't right, that you're not ready, that someone else had it easier, that it's too late, too risky, too hard. But behind every excuse is a fear. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of responsibility. And until you face that fear, you'll keep building walls around your potential and calling it protection. Excuses come in many forms. Sometimes they sound logical. I don't have the resources. I'm too busy. I wasn't taught that. But what they all have in common is they place power outside of you. Tempt. They say your life depends on what you don't have instead of what you're willing to do with what you've got. That's the trap. Because if you believe success is only possible when everything's perfect, you'll wait forever. Real success comes from figuring it out while things are messy, uncertain, and uncomfortable. It's not about having the perfect start. It's about refusing to stop. There are people out there doing more with less. People who didn't wait for a sign. They didn't wait for permission. They just started. They failed, learned, adjusted, and kept moving. That's what separates them. Not talent, not luck, just a refusal to keep making excuses. They realize that every excuse is just a delay in disguise. It feels like a reason, but it's really resistance. And if you want to go anywhere meaningful in life, you have to get honest about how your excuses are holding you back. You can't control everything, but you control your mindset. You can control your effort. You can control how you respond. And when you start taking full ownership of your life, you stop looking for reasons why you can't and start finding ways you can. That's the moment things begin to shift. You stop waiting to feel motivated and start being disciplined. You stop blaming your past and start building your future. You stop saying someday and start doing something today. Every time you make an excuse, you build a stronger case for your limitations. But every time you push past one, you build a stronger case for your breakthrough. And it doesn't have to be a giant leap. Sometimes it's just showing up when you don't feel like it, making that call you've been avoiding, saying no to distractions, saying yes to a hard choice. Those little decisions repeated over time are what lead to transformation, not one big moment, but a series of small wins that add up to a life you're proud of. You've got to decide what matters more, your goals or your excuses, because you can't serve both. You either stay loyal to your limitations or you commit to your growth. And that choice shows up in your actions every single day, in how you spend your time, in how you talk to yourself, in what you prioritize, in what you let slide. Excuses are subtle. They sound like just today, or it'll start Monday, or I need more time. But the more you entertain them, the further your goals drift away. Success isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about doing the work, even when no one's watching, even when it's not fun, even when it's inconvenient, because you understand that every excuse is a step away from your purpose. And every time you choose discipline over delay, focus over distraction, action over overthinking, you're proving to yourself that you want this for real, that you're done settling, that you're ready to step into the version of yourself that doesn't let fear and excuses run the show.